All right, let's turn over to the bad over the last 28 days. Would you be looking to buy low on any of these right now? Marcus Semien, I had not realized this. 143 batting average with a 412 OPS. I know he picked up a couple hits here on Monday. These numbers were before that, but that's pretty bad. Andres Jimenez, 212 with 1 homer, 5 steals, 531 OPS. Anthony Volpe, 180 with 0 homers, 3 steals, 461 OPS. And Michael Garcia, 156 with 1 homer, 6 steals, a 471. So all of these names under a 540 OPS over the past month or so. You're looking to buy low on any of these names, Scott. Semien, Jimenez, Volpe, Michael Garcia.
Well, Semien, I think, is the most obvious, just given the track record, given that he's been a fantasy stud for as long as he has, given that he's an all-star even this year, which is upsetting to some Jordan Westberg fans especially. I mean, the year-to-date production is still good for Marcus Semien. So I'm not even sure how low you can buy on him. His in terms of just fantasy points, he's the 6th best second baseman. And yeah, I wish he was running more. That looks like the only 3 stolen bases this year.
Yeah,
But that's kind of been an issue for the whole Rangers lineup. And he did lose a fair number of steals just last year too. Went from 25 in 2022 to 14 last year. So I don't know that that's going to be a big part of Semien's game, even if he picks things up, but good plate discipline still. And yeah, the track record speaks for itself. I would bet on him turning things around. Andres Jimenez probably will too. It's a little harder to get enthusiastic about him because at his best, he's kind of a middling option for 12-team leagues. But I expect a lot of steals for him. I expect the batting average to be decent in the second half. I think the most questionable of this group are Anthony Volpe and Michael Garcia. I would be more inclined to bet on Volpe because of where he bats and who he bats in front of. But Garcia is... I guess their skill sets are kind of similar, right? Garcia does hit the ball harder, but in a worse venue, worse lineup, less of a prospect pedigree. Those are the 2 I'd say you'd most successfully could buy low on, but they're also the 2 that I'm least confident you're actually buying low on.
Let's fire up the drop-o-meter for the rest of these names and try and move through this a little bit quicker. But Alex Verdugo, 204 batting average, 2 homers, 573 OPS over the last 28 days. He's still 85% rostered. Where would you put Verdugo on the drop-o-meter, Scott? 1 to 10.
Oh, probably like an 8. Even in 5 outfielder leagues, I think it's justifiable. Maybe not deeper 5 outfielder leagues. I imagine he'll get hot again at some point, but the upside's only so high.
Would you drop him for Jesse Winker, who we mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would do that as well. Ezekiel Tovar, 188 batting average with 2 home runs, a 515 OPS. He is still 86% rostered. When you chase pitches and swing and miss as much as Tovar does, Scott, I think this is just part of the package that you get year long with him. But what do you think? Where is Tovar on the drop-o-meter?
Probably about an 8 as well. You know what? Maybe I'd be a little more reluctant to drop Tovar in like a standard roto league where you have that extra middle infield spot to fill than I would Verdugo, because he contributes in a wider variety. Like he has more home run power. He actually hasn't run as much this year as I thought, but he's more capable of stealing bases than Verdugo is. But they're about in the same category. It depends on. I feel like we've had a lot of emerging in middle infield options lately that make it easier to justify. So, yeah, I'll say 7, I guess, instead of 8 for Tovar.
Yeah, I think a 5. I'm just going to split it down the middle. Like, if you play in a points league, I think you could drop Tovar. If you play in a categories league, I think you probably should hold on to him. Rhys Hoskins, batting 179 with 3 homers, a 590 OPS, has not looked the same since returning from that injury. Has a 38% strikeout rate over the last 28 days. Scott, where is Rhys Hoskins on the drop-o-meter?
I think in shallow head-to-head leagues, he's fine to drop, but I imagine he'll look like Rhys Hoskins again eventually, and he's just going through a slump, maybe a little rusty after that long layoff. Not that he was immune to slumps during all those years in Philadelphia. That there's a reason why he tends to hit 240 or less. I doubt he's just gone rotten here. So shallow leagues, head-to-head leagues where there's always ample alternatives on the waiver wire. Hoskins isn't high-end enough that you have to wait out the cold streaks. But in every roto league, I'd hang on to him. So I'll put it right at a 5 for Rhys Hoskins.
Would you drop him for Nate Lowe or Michael Busch?
Feels like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They're hotter right now. So if you need somebody to slot in your lineup, I'd rather slot them than Hoskins.
Okay. What about
especially Low, because I think he's less matchups dependent than Busch is.
What about Dansby Swanson, batting 155, 2 homers, 1 steal, a 498 OPS? The problem has just been these ground balls, a 52% ground ball rate during the last 28 days. It's been a problem all season long. He's still 79% rostered. Where is Dansby Swanson on the drop-o-meter?
4. I'm giving him a long leash here because I feel like he's so established and he's not in an age where we should really be worried about decline. So obviously sort of the same thing as Rhys Hoskins. Head-to-head league, no middle infield spot. The sort of league where you're not going to stash Swanson on your bench. Okay, you can probably cut him loose. But anything deeper than that, any roto league, I've seen him dropped in some of those leagues, and I've scooped him up right away because I don't think he deserves to be dropped.
Okay. Dalton Varsho batting 151 with 1 homer, 2 steals, 458 OPS, and a 35% strikeout rate. Where is Varsho on the drop-o-meter?
Let's see. I went 7 on Tovar, 8 on Verdugo. Probably the same as Verdugo, an 8.
Mm-hmm. And Nolan Gorman, 167 batting average. Does still have 3 homers and 4 steals, but a 527 OPS, 42% strikeout rate. Man, I know he was streaky last year, but it feels like he has taken it to the next level. Where is Nolan Gorman on the drop-o-meter?
Let's say 6. Okay. More droppable than Rhys Hoskins, less droppable than Ezequiel Tovar.